Good morning and happy Saturday, everyone. Happy New Year as well. My name is Nick Marro here with Occupy Fantasy. You could find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS, and as always, I am here to help you break down the NBA DFS slate on both DraftKings and FanDuel. There are some games, or at least a game during the day today, but the main slate for both sites locks at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. I'm going to go quickly game by game, talking you through the best plays, the injury news to keep an eye on, etc. And yeah, we got 8 games, like I mentioned. Pretty solid size slate, honestly. Not too many crazy injuries we're waiting on. There are a few teams on back to backs who haven't released their injury reports yet. If you haven't already, please like the video. Also, subscribe to the channel. That helps us climb those YouTube algorithms and get more free content like this out to you. Also, if you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, check out the links in the description below. You get access to the model you see here, where you can sort by value, ownership projections, OF index, which is going to show you the best plays on a given slate. We have a single lineup builder, multi lineup builder, private Discord server filled with DFS pros, helping you build lineups, answer your questions about contest selection, etc. And there is a 30-minute window leading up to each slate lock where you can ask specific questions to a given slate. So without further ado, let's get into this one. Again, I'm going to go game by game, but I think I can keep things pretty quick here. And yeah, just pulling up the most recent injury report. If you see me looking up to the top right here, I'm looking at the injury report and the spreads and some data on the other screen. Obviously, we want to get as much information jammed into this quick show here as possible. So, all right, let's get things started. First game on the slate, we have the Brooklyn Nets at the Charlotte Hornets. The Hornets are going to be without Kelly Oubre. Dennis Smith Jr. is listed as questionable. Cody Martin is out. Over on the net side, Joe Harris is out. Ben Simmons listed as probable. Edmund Sumner is probable as well. Then there's a few G League guys that are out, but nothing significant to worry about there. All right, so let's click into this game here. I'm going to pull up DK first. So yeah, first and foremost, I mean, with Kelly Oubre out, that's going to create more usage for the other high usage players. Guys like Terry Rozier are going to look better here. LaMelo Ball looks solid here, even at 10K on DK. His price continues to climb. If DSJ's back, maybe that's not ideal for him where he's over 10K. But with Kelly Oubre out, I do think he's still viable, even on a mid-sized slate. I do like Terry Rozier. I think he's fine. Certainly riskier than Ball, but you're getting a major discount. And the play I really like a lot is going to be Gordon Hayward with Kelly Oubre out. Gordon sees a nice bump in usage. With Oubre out of the lineup, Oubre does usually come off the bench when this team is fully healthy. Um, but yeah, we're going to see more minutes stagger between Hayward and Ball than we usually do, which is going to help both of their usage rates. So I like both these guys a lot. And as good as Brooklyn's been, they're on a 10-game win streak. They still have one of the maybe worst defenses on the slate in terms of allowing DFS points. So this should be a pacey game. Let me pull up the Vegas odds. Yeah, the Nets are 7-point favorites on the road. 238-point game total here, so certainly a healthy total. There's going to be a lot to like on both sides of this one. So yeah, Joe Harris out for the Nets. Not a major needle mover. He's been out the past couple of games. I do like KD and Kyrie on both sides. I think they're both solid here. With Ben Simmons in, he's okay. Coming off a pretty bad game in terms of fantasy points, but he's been solid. I don't mind him here. Nick Claxton's actually very interesting to me. There are going to be some solid center options on this slate, but centers against the Hornets has been a thing this season. I mean, centers against the Nets has been a thing as well. So you could probably mix in some Claxton, mix in some Plumlee. If you're playing multiple lineups, they both do look solid here. But really, I mean, it's the obvious plays from this game. If we sort by OF index, we're getting Kevin Durant towards the top. Then we're seeing LaMelo Ball with Kyrie Irving not too far behind him. Like I mentioned before, I do really like Gordon Hayward here. I think he's going to see a considerable boost with Oubre out of the lineup. Don't mind Rozier. And then the front court plays, especially the centers, are going to look good here because defensively speaking, this is a positive matchup for both. I don't like to go position versus position in terms of defense, but when you know a front court is soft defensively, you can certainly exploit that. And I think we get that here with both teams. Again, very high total, really solid game environment. A lot to like here. As far as value goes, I don't think we're going to see much pop for either team. Just not enough guys out to really expect that. Claxton's kind of getting up there towards the top, even though he's not really a cheap player. That's certainly a good sign. Royce O'Neal on FanDuel, an okay option if you're really looking to punt, but not someone I'd be forcing. So we can move into the next game on the slate here. We have the Chicago Bulls at the Cleveland Cavaliers. The Bulls are on a back-to-back, so they have not yet submitted their injury report. The Bulls are fairly easy to talk about, though. Let me just first touch on the spread. Yeah, the Bulls are 2.5 point underdogs at home against the Cavs. So they're in a really tough matchup here. Cleveland's been one of the best defensive teams in the league this season. If the Bulls are healthy, you get DeRozan, you get Levine, you get Vooch. They all look okay, but I'm really not prioritizing any of them. We did see Alex Caruso return yesterday, which is good for him. He's okay as a value play, not someone I'm rushing to get to. But the bad news about that is it's going to cut into Ayu Donsumu's upside. So it's really tough to find any value from Chicago in this spot unless we get some guys ruled out. But again, this is a team on a back-to-back. There's a good chance we see some guys rested here. So certainly keep an eye on that. I mean, if one of that big three is out, the other two are going to become very appealing. If two of that big three is out, then whoever's left is going to be super appealing. But I do expect both DeRozan or all three of DeRozan, Vooch, and Levine to play. But do keep an eye on that. And maybe we get Caruso out. And that would be a boosted Donsumu. But yeah, a spot we're going to keep an eye on. But at the same time, I don't want to put too much emphasis on it because a matchup with Cleveland's tough, and most of these guys are pretty much priced where they should be. Over on the Cleveland side, Darius Garland's questionable. That's the big one here. Evan Mobley also questionable, pretty damn big as well. Then a few secondary plays: Ricky Rubio, Dean Wade, Windler. They've been out. They're all out here as well. So if Garland's out, then Donovan Mitchell is going to be one of my favorite plays on the slate. With Garland in, I think both these guys are fine. It is a plus matchup. Really not rushing to get to either if they're both in. But yeah, keep an eye on that. If Garland's out, Donovan Mitchell becomes one of the best guard plays on the slate. Then in the front court, we get a similar situation. Evan Mobley is questionable. If Mobley's out, Jared Allen's going to become one of the best plays on the slate. So we do need to keep an eye on that. But yeah, as things stand, like I said, Garland being out would be huge. We'd be getting Donovan Mitchell at 8,700 on DK without Darius Garland. That's an excellent play. And then at 8,900 over on FanDuel. So spot to keep an eye on. It's an illness, maybe on the I don't know. I think he plays. I lean he plays, but it's tough to say right now. The fact he is listed as questionable on the injury report is obviously significant. As far as secondary plays go, whenever Kevin Love gets it in the starting lineup, I don't mind him. That's kind of a rare situation. I don't know that we see that here today unless both of those guys are ruled out for Cleveland. But yeah, let's say they're all healthy. I think guys like Mitchell, Garland are fine. Don't mind Allen or Mobley, but none of them would really be priorities for me here. Just one of the lower game totals on the slate. Won't be very pacey, and I just think we have better spots. So we can move into the next game. Again, keep your eye on that Cavs injury news, certainly. We have the Dallas Mavericks at the San Antonio Spurs. Luka listed as probable. Finney-Smith, Josh Green, Maxi Kleber all out for Dallas. Then over on the San Antonio Spurs side, still no Devin Vassell, which is a big piece of news, certainly. Luka is having one of the best weeks of his career right now. He is expensive on both sides, but he is also very clearly the best pay up on the board. I am prioritizing him everywhere today. This is a good matchup against San Antonio on the road. I actually like it being on the road here. It should keep the game a bit more competitive. We're seeing the Mavs with a 7-point spread in their favor on the road, 231-point game total. Love Luka Doncic here. He's a priority for me. Definitely gets easier to get to if we get more value in these other games. But as things stand, I'd still be prioritizing him and just kind of building balanced builds after Luka. Christian Wood's finally getting the minutes he should be. Jason Kidd he has earned Jason Kidd's trust, which is good to see. I do like Christian Wood on both sides. In lineups without Luka, I'd probably be going to Wood a lot. There's some small correlation there. It presents a little bit of leverage. But I'm totally fine playing them in the same lineup together as well. With the guys I mentioned that are out for Dallas, being Dorian Finney-Smith, Josh Green, Maxi Kleber, that should help boost guys like Tim Hardaway Jr., Spencer Dinwiddie, just a little bit. We did see Dwight Powell actually have a huge game last time out. I don't think that's something we can bank on, but if you're desperate for a value punt, I could see using him as a last man in. It is a favorable matchup. But yeah, it's really Luka first and foremost for Dallas, and everything else is kind of secondary. I mean, Christian Wood's kind of on a second tier his own, and then everything else after that. But get Luka in your lives tonight for sure. Best play on the slate. There aren't that many true pay ups, so he's pretty easy to prioritize as things stand. Over on the Spurs side, as I mentioned, Devin Vassell's still going to be out. That provides the biggest boost to Keldon Johnson. But I also like Trey Jones a lot here. I think he's a solid play. Jakob Poeltl, he's been good, but the minutes haven't been there yet. He still hasn't played over 30 minutes since returning from injury. So while he does see increased usage here, he's not someone I'm rushing to get to. I like Jeremy Sochan better on DK. His price is up on both sites, but he's been seeing more consistent minutes. Don't mind Josh Richardson. Would prefer he start. But really, all these other plays for the Spurs after Kelvin Johnson, Trey Jones are secondary for me. Just nothing we have to prioritize. But yes, there is extra usage to go around with Devin Vassell out of the lineup. So let's move into the next game here. We have the Houston Rockets at the New York Knicks. The Knicks are 4-point favorites on the road in Houston. 223-point game total here, a little bit lower than I expect. Might be a good spot to bet the over. Um, let's see here, just pulling up the injury reports. Deshaun Tate's still out for Houston. Obviously not that significant. We got R.J. Barrett out for the Knicks. Jalen Brunson listed as questionable. So on the Houston side, I mean, everyone looks okay. Not a great matchup against the Knicks. They play slow. They have a pretty good defense. Kevin Porter, Jalen Green, okay plays. Neither are guys I'm rushing to get to. Um, I do like Sengun at center, especially if he's going to be reasonably to low owns. Not the best matchup, but his price just doesn't seem to move no matter what he does, so I do like him here. Um, and then Jabari Smith Jr., he's been playing a lot better lately. I don't mind him as kind of a last man in. Those forward spots can be tough to fill, and Smith kind of fits that mold of a mid-price guy that you could kind of use right there. So I do like Smith. I do like Sengun. Porter and Green are always fine with me. But no priorities for me from the Houston side. Over on the Knicks side, this is a little bit more interesting. With R.J. Barrett still out, we're going to continue to see increased running usage for a guy like Emmanuel Quickly. Those huge Emmanuel Quickly games, though, we've recently seen have come with Jalen Brunson out of the lineup as well. So if Brunson's in, I like him here. I think he's probably the best play on the Knicks if he's healthy and in. If he's out, we're prioritizing Quickly once again. We're prioritizing Julius Randle. Um, you could even see someone like Miles McBride maybe slide in the starting lineup. I don't like McBride very much, so I'm never really playing him. The guy I do like, though, if Brunson is out, is going to be Quentin Grimes. Even if Brunson's in, he's coming off a game where he played 36 minutes. He shot terribly, and still almost had 20 fantasy points. That was a floor game for Grimes as far as I'm concerned with those minutes. I like him regardless of whether Brunson's in, certainly better if Brunson's out. And again, if Brunson's out, we're going to be prioritizing Randall and Emmanuel Quickly. So another spot we have to certainly keep an eye on. Next game on the slate is going to be a little bit tricky to talk about. We have the Pistons at the Timberwolves. So yeah, the Timberwolves are hosting the Pistons. This is a game that opened with an 8-point spread. It is now closed to 5.5. That tells me that we're likely seeing someone out tonight for Minnesota. Rudy Gobert was out last night, which made Naz Reid a core play. If that's the situation here again, then yeah, we're going to go right back to Naz Reid. I pulled up the model here because I think as things stand, we're seeing Reid very popular. I think people are expecting Gobert to sit. I could certainly see that against the Pistons here. They could probably get by without playing him. But keep an eye on that because if Gobert is in and Reed's going to be 40% owned on DK, I do think you could probably go elsewhere at center and power forward. So certainly significant news there. Then over on the Pistons side, I mean, they're obviously without Cade Cunningham. They were dealing with suspensions as well. I think Killian Hayes, I don't know if he got a 1 or 2 gamer. There should be a way to check that. But yeah, he was in that altercation with the Orlando Magic. Just pulling this up on my other screen real quick. 3 games for Killian Hayes. So that is significant. He's going to be out again tonight. That means Sadiq Bey becomes a really strong play. Alec Burks becomes a really strong play. Burks is excellent even off the bench, just a very aggressive shooter and scorer. So I like him on both sites. Better on DK where he's only 4,500. Sadiq Bey really took a while to get going last night. Shot terribly in the first half. Still almost got the value. 4K on DK, he's excellent there. 6K on FanDuel, he's viable. But yeah, with Killian Hayes out and Cade Cunningham out for the foreseeable future, there's a lot of usage to go around, and those are the two that we see absorb most of it. Marvin Bagley did return for the Pistons last night. If he is in, I'm really not rushing to get to him, but if he's out on the back-to-back, that's going to be a significant boost to both Jalen Duren and Isaiah Stewart. So keep an eye on that one. But again, no injury report yet for either of these teams. Certainly news we have to keep an eye on. Most significantly on the Minnesota side, if Gobert's out, Naz Reid becomes a core play. I do expect Bey and Burks to both be excellent plays on both sides, especially on DK though, with Hayes serving his 3-game suspension. So good game there. I wish we had a little bit more news so I could talk about it in more detail, but we can move right into the next game on the slate, which is the Memphis Grizzlies at the New Orleans Pelicans. The Grizzlies are 6-point favorites at home, 235-point total in this one. As is always the case when he's on the slate, I do like John Morant as a guard play. Not someone I'm forcing in, especially on a slate with Luka. It's going to be tough to fit them both. But if you can't quite get to Luka, we're getting Ja sub 10K on DK now, which is certainly a bit of a discount from what we've seen him priced at most of the season. Still just over 10K on FanDuel again. I'm prioritizing Luka tonight, but if I'm not getting to him, Jaw's a pretty good consolation / pivot there, so I don't mind him at all. Desmond Bane looks okay. Jaren Jackson Jr., when he stays out of foul trouble, is excellent. Steven Adams has had a few huge games. Say Gobert's in tonight and you don't want to get to Naz Reid, maybe just find the few extra hundred to get to Steven Adams if we don't have that news by lock. But yeah, Adams after Morant's probably my favorite Grizzly here. Some risk in his minutes, but he has had very high ceiling games, which we do like to see for that price. Bane, Jackson, Brooks, all secondary options I consider, but none I'd really prioritize. Over on the Pelicans side, they have not released their injury report. They are on a back-to-back. Zion and McCollum both looked great last night. If either is out, then the other would become a major priority. So keep your eye on that. Brandon Ingram has been out. He's upgraded to questionable now, it looks like. I don't think he goes tonight, but keep an eye on that. If Ingram's back, that's going to cut into Zion and CJ's upside significantly. They're both priced as though Ingram's still out. So if Ingram's in, that's going to kill McCollum and Zion as really like core options. Like I still think you could use them in tournaments, but I would have trouble trusting either over 9K right now. I mean, Zion, obviously, he could go off with anyone in the lineup, but CJ at 9K, that's just not something I'd be chasing with Ingram in the lineup, so keep your eye on that. Joval's fine, just very boom bust. Better play if Larry Nance is out, so we do have to keep an eye on that as well. But again, we're waiting on this injury report. We unfortunately don't have it yet today. So yeah, keep an eye on it because that big three for New Orleans. I mean, if we're getting any combo of two of them out, the third guy left over is going to look amazing here. So we can move into the next game. We have, excuse me, the Oklahoma City Thunder at the Philadelphia 76ers. The Thunder are without Poku, Jeremiah Robinson Earl, Osanme Jang, and this creates openings in the front court. It's just tricky to know how these guys are going to run their rotations because what the Thunder have done most of the season, other than guys like Giddey, Dort, SGA, they're giving all these guys like a few minutes, like 20 to 30 minutes, no one really over 30 minutes. There's two Jalen Williams on this Thunder team. Jay with a Y, he got the start last time out at center. If he starts again, I do think he's fine. It took him a while to really do anything last game, but if he's starting at center and the minutes are there, I do like him as a punt. He's still only 35 on DK, 3,500 that is. I'm checking his price over on FanDuel. Let's see here. Oh yeah, he's power forward on FanDuel, which makes him a little bit more appealing. But yeah, 4,100, I think he'd be fine over there if he starts at center again. I mean, the thing you got to be careful about though is they're facing Embiid. It would not be surprising to see the entire OKC front court get into foul trouble here against Joel Embiid. So keep an eye on that. But yeah, I mean, I like SGA a lot. I'm not really prioritizing him over Luka or Ja, or I don't know, even LaMelo or Kyrie at their respective price points. I obviously love SGA here. I think he's a really strong play, but at the same time, like I can't recommend every pay up guard, and he's just not at the top of that list for me. If you're playing multiple lineups, you certainly want to mix him in. We did see Tyrese Maxey return for the 76ers last night. Obviously significant. I'm not sure he's going to play on the back-to-back. If he's out, I'd like James Harden and Embiid a lot more than I do right now. Let's take a look at this spread. Yeah, only 4.5 point spread here. A little bit surprising. So I wouldn't be shocked to see Maxey rest and then maybe Harden or Embiid rest as well. It seems most likely that just Maxey is out of that big three, in which case we could be playing Embiid, we could be playing Harden. After Luka, Embiid's probably one of the best pay-up options on the slate. Sorting by OF index quickly. Yeah, I mean, we're getting SGA towards the top. Like I said, I like him. I just don't love him because I'm prioritizing Lucas so aggressively. I also really like the matchup for Ja against New Orleans. But SGA is a strong play. But after him, we're seeing Embiid towards the top. So really great upsides from some of the pay-ups in this game. But at the same time, there's not a ton of value. I mean, both Jalen Williams is for OKC are going to look fine here if they're starting. We did see Dort play a more aggressive role last time out with some of those guys out. So I don't mind him as kind of a secondary play. But there's nothing I'd consider really a true core play in this game. So we can move into the last game on the slate. We have the Miami Heat at the Utah Jazz. Both teams on back-to-backs. No injury reports for either team. We're seeing the Jazz as 3.5 point favorites at home. Miami had Butler, Bam, Hero, and Lowry healthy last night. I can't remember the last time they had all four of them healthy and in the lineup. When they are healthy and in, I do like Butler the best, but at the same time, it's tough to want to pay up for him with all those guys in the lineup. And then, yeah, on the other side of that statement, I mean, we have Tyler Hero, Bam Adebayo, who always look much better if Butler's out of the lineup. No injury report yet, so keep an eye on that one. As things stand, though, they're all kind of priced where they should be. So it's really tough to prioritize anything from Miami. Similar situation over on the Utah side, hosting the Heat here. They're as healthy as they've been all season. Jordan Clarkson, Colin Sexton, Lauri Markkanen, Mike Conley, all decent plays. None that I'd really be prioritizing, though. So keep an eye on this injury report. Keep an eye on this news. We do see some strange things happen on Saturday nights, especially for these teams on back-to-backs. But let me just refresh the model one more time. I'll kind of give a high-level overview of everything. Again, we're waiting on a lot of news. Everyone, keep an eye on that. Obviously, as things start to break, we'll see adjustments in the model. We'll also be updating our users in Discord. So if you're not already a member at Occupy Fantasy, definitely check the links in the description below. But yeah, Luka, great play. Obviously, SGA, Embiid, Randall, Durant. Randall, he's not really a core play for me unless Brunson's out, so keep an eye on that. And then the other big one is Donovan Mitchell. If we get Darius Garland ruled out, he's going to kind of shoot towards the top of this list, I imagine. Sorting quickly by value, we're seeing Naz Reid towards the top with those Detroit Pistons. I don't mind Royce O'Neal on either side. He's never someone you can fully trust, but if we're lacking value and you're really trying to jam Luka, I could see getting to a lot of Royce. Naz Reid, one of the best plays on the slate if Gobert is out. If Gobert is in, he's still productive enough to be viable, but not quite the same level of priority. I'd really like to get to someone like Steven Adams. But yeah, as things stand, like before we get more news, all the Pistons guys kind of look like decent value. Talking Jaden Ivey, Sadiq Bey, and then Alec Burks, even if he comes off the bench. No real discrepancies over on FanDuel, except we're seeing Bojan Bogdanovic pop towards the top at 6K flat. Yeah, a solid play for Detroit. I mean, there is a lot to like on this Detroit team here. Really not a great team in terms of winning basketball games, but for DFS purposes, they take a lot of shots. They don't play great defense. It's kind of a recipe for success. So once again, my name is Nick Marro with Occupy Fantasy. You could find me on Twitter at Nick Marro DFS. Please like the video, click subscribe. Happy New Year, everyone. Let's have some fun tonight and make some money.